This is the 2024 ASUS ROG Zephyrus G16, and this is a redesign. The previous G16 was using the chassis of the 2022 M16, and you can only spec it up to a 4060 or a 4070. This guy right here, you can go all the way up to a 4090. Now, I'm loving this new design. That's the direction ASUS has taken because they couldn't really do more with performance since these new Meteor Lake processors are very comparable to last year's processors in terms of overall speed. But the benefit of these Meteor Lake processors is that you can stick them in thinner chassis, you get better battery efficiency. It just allows these companies to play with new designs. Either way, I think it looks great. You will get a lot of fingerprints on the Eclipse Gray model of this laptop. If you want the white version of it, you're gonna have to pay $200 more, even if the specs are exactly the same. Now, I don't know how you feel about the Slash. Personally, I like it better than the G14's Animatrix back, which was just lights everywhere. This will light up in different logos that you choose, but you can also customize it to be a notification indicator. The overall lid feels premium. It's obviously an aluminum chassis. This version of it, since it's using a 4080, is a bit heavier at 4.3 pounds, but still lighter than a MacBook Pro 16. On the left-hand side, you have your proprietary power connector, HDMI port, Thunderbolt 4, USB-A combo audio jack, and then on the right-hand side, you have a regular USB Type-C Gen 2 port, USB-A, SD card slot, which is UHS 2. The other cool thing is that ASUS reduced the size of the power brick. On the previous M16, it's pretty thick. On the newer version, it's a lot smaller. There's still 240 watts, but it's a smaller power brick that you get to carry around. Now, unfortunately, I don't have a G16 to compare this to anymore. And quite frankly, it wouldn't be a good comparison since you could only spec that up to a 4060 or a 4070. But I will be making a lot of comparisons to last year's M16. Now, the only thing I don't like about the build quality is that this display is a little bit wobbly. If they just tightened up the hinges a little bit more, this laptop would feel a little bit more premium. But I do like the keyboard deck. They've, spaced it out very well. The touchpad is 37% bigger than the previous one. Keys are still fantastic to type on. You have RGB, which pops on this darker color of the keyboard, 1.7 millimeters. The power button does not have a fingerprint scanner. That has been removed, but you now have facial recognition or Windows Hello facial recognition that you can utilize with the camera. The touchpad is glass. I would have loved a haptic touchpad. That would have made this even better than it already is, but a lot of manufacturers are still sticking with glass. Sticker placement is not too bad, Like we have the Intel sticker a little bit below the NVIDIA sticker, which is kind of the way it should be. NVIDIA is definitely worth a lot more right now, so they're probably paying the sticker guy a few extra dollars. But the speaker system, much improved compared to the previous model. Like you have 6 speakers inside of here, and they're almost on par with a MacBook Pro 16. Now, one of the most exciting features to me is this brand new OLED display. It is absolutely gorgeous. Like I want to take this thing on a date. That's how good it looks, because not only is it 240 hertz, it's one of the first laptops to support G-Sync. It supports VRR. It has a 960 hertz pixel refresh rate, which is crazy, okay? And it supports HDR. So like its peak brightness is 500, not as bright as like a QD OLED panel, but bright enough to give you decent HDR. But just like gaming on this or doing any sort of like productivity work is amazing. Like it's fantastic. Now, look, you can make an argument for mini LEDs being brighter, but there's just something about having those deep dark blacks and then having punchy colors to go along with it. And by far, if you're a gamer, this is probably going to be one of your favorite displays because the response time is also extremely low. As for the webcam, it is 1080p, and this is what it looks like. Again, I'm using studio lighting, so it's definitely in its best condition, but this will give you an idea of how it looks, if lighting is good, and how the microphones sound. Now my unit is rocking an Intel Core Ultra 9 185H CPU, paired with 32 gigabytes of LPDDR5X memory. You have a gorgeous 16-inch QHD Plus OLED display, 240 Hz. You have an NVIDIA RTX 4080 and a 1TB NVMe SSD. Now here's the thing. Performance on this newer Core Ultra 9 is not that much faster than last year's i9 13900H. In fact, in single core clock speeds, last year's model was actually faster. Multi-core speeds were a little bit better on this one, but not by much. If it's something that's super CPU intensive, like Adobe Photoshop, I actually found that the Ryzen 9 8945HS CPU in the G14 performed a little bit better. But if you take something like Mozilla Firefox, this one did it in 17 minutes compared to 20. Premiere Pro is a totally different story. You have better codecs with the Intel machine, and you also have an RTX 4080. It performed the best out of the Windows PCs. But overall performance is still really good. Like, we're talking about a computer that's faster than a MacBook Pro 16 with an M2 Max. Now, based on my 3D Mark Time Spy test, this sits just above an RTX 4070. It's not like drastically higher, but it's obviously faster, as a 4080 should be. Plus, you get the 12 gigabytes of VRAM, which is much better than the 8 you'd get on a 4070 or lower. Now, look, if you're buying this for mostly gaming, it performs very well. I think most games you'll have no problem playing at 2560 by 1600, as long as it's not like a AAA heavy graphical title. You're getting anywhere from 15 to 20 FPS more compared to an RTX 4070. This obviously has a mux switch. It does require a restart, and you will see the screen blackout if you're switching between the dedicated GPU and hybrid mode. Now look, fan noise is very interesting because it's not a super quiet laptop. It's significantly lower at max performance compared to the M16. Like, that M16 under full load was over 60 decibels. Like, you had to wear helicopter headphones just to like not hear the fans. This guy still gets loud, like 53 to 54 decibels, but I did find it a little bit louder on silent mode compared to most laptops. As for heat management, I found that this laptop would hover around 86 to 87 degrees Celsius, whereas last year's M16 can sometimes touch 90 degrees Celsius. The weird thing though is that the average core clock speeds are only slightly higher than the i9 13900H, but drastically lower than the Ryzen 9 8945HS. And even running my 3D Mark Time Spy test to test out the TGP, last year's model with the 4070 could boost higher with a max TGP of around like 120 or 125. This guy tops out at 115. Now, the internals look a bit different depending on which models you buy. So if you get the one with a 4080 or 4090, you're getting a vapor chamber cooler. If you're getting the version with a 4060 or 4070, there's no vapor chamber cooler, but you do get a third fan over here. Now, apparently that third fan does add a little bit more noise in certain situations, so this one should technically be a tiny bit more quiet, but you do get two slots for drives. One of them is empty and it's on the left-hand side, and the other one is populated on the right. This one actually does get good read and write speeds. You do have a swappable Wi-Fi card. This is only Wi-Fi 6E and not Wi-Fi 7. But you do get a big 90 watt-hour battery, and I was able to squeeze out 9 hours and about 15 minutes of use before needing to charge. So here's the thing. The G16 is a more refined product. It didn't increase the performance compared to last year. Like, if you have an M16 with an RTX 4080 and a QHD display, you're not going to see that much of a difference in terms of overall performance. This year's build is more of a quality of life update. You're getting one of the best displays you can get on a laptop. You're getting really good battery life. You're getting a system that has fantastic sounding speakers, a good amount of ports, and a very attractive laptop. Obviously, if you have a product from last year, you shouldn't upgrade. It just doesn't make sense. But if you're coming from like the original G16 or an older laptop and you want to rock something that's super light but still has really good performance, that's not a MacBook Pro, I think ASUS did a good job with this newer version of the G16. Now, if you have any questions about this laptop, let me know in the comment section down below. Like the video if you liked it, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in the next one.